was 1994, and I arrived as the first superintendent, and I found that we were in a building that said condemned by the city of Rio Rancho, and underneath said the Rio Rancho Public School District. That was the only space that the school board could find in the entire city to begin our operations.
It's very difficult to start from scratch and to have no assets and to go forward and to build what we've seen happen here in 30 years.
The first decade was focused on survival and creating our own district and who we wanted to be when we grew up. And so it was a coming together, as I've said before, of people from Jemez and people from APS and people from other places. And our leadership team came from all over the country.
Back in those times, Rio Rancho was still a brand new city with a population of approximately 35,000 people. And a lot of our students who were beginning to go to school, or the young families that were beginning to move to Rio Rancho, were going to a number of different school districts.
The kids were split pretty much early on, I think, between APS and Jemez Valley schools.
So they had to convince the Albuquerque School Board and the Jemez Valley School Board, and that took some doing, and then they had to get the approval of the State Board of Education. Had there not been a group who really had that vision to see that this would not only be an asset benefit to their children, but would also be a huge benefit to the overall economic development of the community that they lived in.
We had to do it. It's one of the reasons Rio Rancho became a district is because we were being neglected by APS, right? Okay, not a criticism, just it was a reality that happened. Fortunately, we got our own district. I think it was the best for our community.
But there were a lot of people who worked many years to get approval from the State Board of Education to create New Mexico's first new school district in 20 years. And those people just worked tirelessly, going door to door, talking to people about the new district. On that first day of when I arrived, Carla Walker, who was the first board president, was there. And she didn't even have paper, but she took a paper towel and she wrote on it, "Send money," and put it on the fax and sent it to the state superintendent of education. July 1st, 1994, was the first official day of the Rio Rancho Public School District. And we were at Martin Luther King Elementary, and as the buses rolled in, it was the first time we had seen Rio Rancho Public Schools on anything. And there was truly not a dry eye in the entire group that was there.
When those buses rolled in, we were all so happy. It was so exciting, and we were a team that just was so grateful for everything that happened. When we became a district, Lincoln Middle School, the night before we were officially a district, they went in, Albuquerque Public Schools went in, they took every fork, knife, spoon, dish, pot, pan, and removed everything.
The Albuquerque Public Schools believed that that all belonged to them because it was part of their food system and had removed it. And so that was quite a surprise on the first day of the district. It took several folks that got involved with it, and it all worked out. APS didn't bring it back, but they provided new things to replace it.
I remember I wanted a marquee for Lincoln Middle School so badly because we needed that communication. I would go door to door and give my spiel. I was like a vacuum salesperson, you know. And I remember we sold candy bars, chocolate candy bars, and we raised the money.
But I actually think that people thought we were going to fail. The amount of money necessary, recruiting new teachers, etc. The fact that we didn't fail, and the fact that we became one of the best school districts in the state of New Mexico is a sense of satisfaction.
A lot of our teachers that were in Jemez and Albuquerque did stay with us. And they were real pioneers because they were giving up their seniority, they were giving up their sick leave. There was a lot they were leaving behind to be part of the new school district. but many did stay with us, and they wanted to build something new.
There was a whole new culture that was coming into that building with people who really wanted to be a part of something that was really special for our community. The opportunity to be a part of Rio Rancho schools from the beginning and sounded really appealing, and so I didn't know what I was getting into at the time.
People talk about public-private partnerships. In this case, it was really an equal partnership. Intel Corporation, Sandoval County, the city of Rio Rancho.
However, our bonding capacity was such that it would have been a decade or more before we could have bonded that building, because we had a need to immediately build 2 middle schools and an elementary school. And so there was no capacity left to build a high school. And so it was really kind of a miraculous kind of situation in which there was conversations going on between the county and Intel about an industrial revenue bond.
We had a mission, and we were going to accomplish that mission, and that was to develop the best school district in Sandoval County.
I went to this school right here when I was 10. All 4 of my kids went here for elementary school. They all 4 went here.
I think if it wasn't for Rio Rancho Public Schools, the city of Rio Rancho wouldn't be what it is today. Rio Rancho Public Schools solidified us as a city.
In the first decade, we were trying to establish our own identity. We were trying to deal with the situations that we had inherited. We had 7 schools, and if we could have built 5 new schools, they would have been full on that day. In the second decade, we were experiencing just phenomenal growth. That was the decade of explosive growth. And we were growing so fast that we had a very hard time just keeping up with the growth, a new school every year. And then the third decade was really dealing with some of the economic changes that occurred as a result of the Great Recession, trying to improve the teaching quality and other things in our schools, and really began to refine what had been the foundation for the first 20 years.
One thing about this district, I like to say, somewhat tongue-in-cheek, is that Rio Rancho Public Schools is big enough to matter but small enough to care. We have the resources to help our students. We have the resources to be attractive to the teachers who want to teach here across the state and across the region.
You know, we, as a district and a superintendent, I think the most important task that we have is to ensure that every child has a chance to succeed in our district, be successful, and to have the knowledge and skills that they need to do whatever they want to do in their lives.
But I think it's a reality that the teachers face, is that academically so much is expected, to deal with behavioral issues is expected, safety issues is expected. We keep putting so much on our teachers. Have gone from teaching the ABCs and the 1, 2, 3s to, wow, psychological needs, personality needs, family disruption, family dysfunction.
And one of the things that never leaves my mind, not ever, not one day, is that whole issue of student safety and school security. Never leaves my mind. And I think that's true of our principals, and I think it's true of parents, and it's just the world that we live in today. We want our staff and students to feel when they come to school, they're as secure as we can make it. We can't guarantee safety, nobody can, but we can do as much as we possibly can do.
I wouldn't have answered what makes for a good day several years ago the way I'm going to answer what makes for a good day today. And my answer today is that everybody goes home safe and everybody goes home healthy.
They want that school district to look at the whole child, not just one component of the child. Certainly academic performance is very important, but they want the other things too. They want the extracurricular pieces. Quality of schools has a real impact on items such as juvenile delinquency, and if students aren't in school and they're not doing a good job in school, they find other things to do. We don't put students out of school pretty much in Rio Rancho. We have Student Support Center, we have in-school suspensions, we have options for students, because we know the worst thing that can happen to a student is to be put out into the community where they have nothing to do and they will often find things to do that they shouldn't.
I worked in the field of juvenile justice. The fact that Dr. Sue, her staff, set a tone that we were not going to give up on youth, no matter how challenging it was at the time. We were going to try to develop a program that met that child's need. Your return on the investment will be multiplied many times over by the fact that that youth does not get involved in the justice system.
And New Mexico has quite definitely been lagging in terms of national performance for a long time. Rio Rancho, however, has not obviously followed that trend.
Rio Rancho Public Schools performs outstandingly. It's the #1 rated school district in the state of New Mexico. Folks from all over the nation choose to live in Rio Rancho because of the school district.
One of the things I think we have learned over the years that we've been a district is one size does not fit all. We had, as a district, we have been looking for several years at how to begin an early childhood program in our school district. And out of that came Shining Stars Preschool. And we had a principal that was very excited about doing that. Her name was Suzanne Harper, and she's one of our National Millikan Award winners. And she was very excited about creating a preschool that was inclusive, that served the needs of high-need pre-K children, but always included peer models because she knew that children learn from other children.
What had been in the back of my mind about early childhood and social justice and the need for this and developmentally appropriate practice and inclusion all came together. 3- and 4-year-olds are different. They don't learn on demand. So sitting there and telling them something and telling them, forget it. You know, they learn through repetition, experimentation, things like that.
And Shining Stars has been recognized nationally for the quality work that they do there. We'd love to have another one. We need another one. But it was a lot of really focusing on what will produce the best results for some of our most vulnerable, high-need children. And so we're very hard to try to identify students who are struggling, whether they're students with disabilities or whether they're students with language challenges or anything that impedes their learning, and try to provide the supports that will help them be successful. We spend a lot of time looking at the data we have to see where we're strong, see where we're weak, and then to develop strategies to close those gaps when we see them in our school community. Every student is different, and they learn differently, and they need kind of a lot of different types of supports. So some students just thrive in the big comprehensive high schools with all the clubs and activities and all of the things that go on there, and others don't. And we have some that really just can't function in a large environment at all, prefer a quieter environment like Rio Rancho Cyber offers them with more individual help. Independence is a wonderful school and wonderful students, and many of them have had challenges that many adults would cringe at having to face.
We do a great job of serving the majority of this community, but there's a population that don't quite fit into that box, if you will, and they just need a little something different, and it's not better or worse, it's just something different. It says a lot about the district, but it also it says something about where we're going in the future with alternative schooling and independence in particular.
From the very beginning, the whole community saw the value of having strong athletic teams or strong fine arts programs. And I can remember when we opened Rio Rancho High and we saw the first band, and we saw the first cheerleaders come out in their uniforms, and we saw that first football team. It really did give us a sense of being a community. And the first homecoming at Rio Rancho High was entitled Coming Home. And that was a very emotional thing.
The arts are an important part of thinking and experiencing the world, and they go hand in hand with more analytical thinking, more concrete thinking. All education is expensive. That if you're going to do something, it needs to be funded well. And the arts are expensive. You have to buy paint, you have to buy backdrops for theater, you need musical instruments, etc. The so-called core of math, science, English, and social studies, those are important too, but the arts are just as important in the education of the whole child.
Over the 25 years I've been here, how teachers teach, how students learn have definitely evolved. One of the biggest things I think was the integration of technology.
Well, we have technology at our fingertips. We have, every kid has a Chromebook now, and we have software that helps us monitor what they're doing so we can keep them engaged.
I know teachers who have taught over 30 years who are always reinventing their teaching and reinventing what they do for students to have even greater experiences for the community and in the schools.
The school, especially the size of some of our schools, the schools are bigger than a lot of communities in New Mexico on any given day. But school spirit is so crucial to having a successful school, in my opinion. It's the reason kids want to come to school, because they like it there. It's inviting, it's engaging, but I just coined it as school spirit.
We just strive to develop champions on the court or playing field, in the classroom, and in our community. Gary Veem, Bruce Carver, Larry Chavez have set the foundation of success for our district in athletics. And then we have coaches that hold our student athletes accountable in the classroom, in the community. Okay, the trophy's nice, but it's not about the trophy. It's about the overall experience for our student athletes. We are developing and working with some of the best young people in the state of New Mexico. And we are surrounded by outstanding teachers and coaches who are committed.
We're very proud that we do have a significant number of children who classify themselves as Native American. We plan a lot of cultural events to support and honor their culture. We have special tutoring and support.
You know, I think we ask the schools to be supportive of our cultural and our ceremonial ways of life when our kids have to be away and other things. As long as the school understands and appreciates that kids speak their own language, their culture, their ceremonies, and their way of life is just as important as getting an education.
One thing that sets a district apart is the way our administrators care about our teachers and our students. Our district's not afraid to try new approaches, and if something doesn't work, they learn from it and they move on to different strategies. They hold us accountable. We're proud to work for this district, and we pass that on to our students.
We like to teach them life skills, collaboration between themselves, and I think that translates to the real world, how to work in a company or anything like that they could face in the world. Band is the vehicle that we use to teach them about life.
We have to make sure our students are learning the standards, but there's more to it. You got to educate the whole child, not just academics.
To bond with your students to the point where they will fall in love with you and do anything that you want them to do for them. I really believe that that's one of the best ways to get results, whether it's socio-emotional, whether it's academic.
I want them to persevere and realize they have to work for it. And then in class, if I say, "What kind of classroom is this?" they all chant, "This is a risk-taking, mistake-making classroom." And they learn to live by that.
Teaching is absolutely not about lecturing and homework. As you can probably see, it's about movement and getting hands-on and questioning and inquiry and collaboration. It's never a dull moment.
I graduated from Rancho High School, and it was just a really great time of my life as I was able to be at the school. And I think since then, I've just realized what a great community we have here at Rio Rancho.
I think the thing that I would want to stress more than anything else is that no one does the job alone. And so the things that we have accomplished as a school district has been a team effort in every sense of the word.
There's a lot of cogs that are working behind the scenes to make it all happen. What teachers can't teach if the kids aren't in the seats, and transportation helps get them there, making sure that they have proper nutrition and making sure their building is clean and sanitized and ready to get here.
As we were growing as a district, almost a school size a year, and we're battling not only for schools, we're battling for buses. Kids can't be in school if they can't get to school. The number 2 challenge was, how do we get all these students to school on time with the number of buses we have?
Well, historically, Rio Rancho grew very fast, and we were putting up a new school almost every year, and that was very difficult. And the state of New Mexico really didn't have much history with school districts that were growing that fast. We were kind of an anomaly, and it was kind of hard to figure out how to make that all work. For a while, we didn't even have current year funding. We had prior year funding, which meant we were funded on the number of students we had the year before. Rio Rancho has always been one of the districts to receive the least operational funding in the state of New Mexico. And so that continues to be a challenge.
I think a lot of districts are getting their wants funded and their needs, whereas Rio Rancho barely gets their needs funded. You know, the way that our funding formula works, I think, is very broken. And I think the whole thing needs to be relooked at. But everything for education in New Mexico comes from the state. So all the taxes go to the state, and then they fund education.
In the next 10 years, you're going to see an expansion of not only the different things that they're doing in the classroom, but with career technical education, we can look more towards career paths and developing our future.
Growth continues to be a challenge. We need a third high school. The building that we're standing in right now that you can hear the construction noise on is going to be the CTE building, which is kind of a stopgap for us for the high school, because we're now going to draw some people in Rio Rancho Public Schools and pull them in here.
It's giving a young person an opportunity to make some money. It's giving a young person to find an interest and a commitment to something even before I get out of high school.
In the past, we've had career technical opportunities for students in things like wood shop or auto repair or some other courses, and they were electives. But that's not the purpose of what we're doing now. Very, very different. It's to build a workforce and to give our students the opportunity to have a job that will provide them with meaningful income and the ability to support themselves and their families.
You have one of the largest school districts, Rio Rancho Public Schools, completing a partnership with Central New Mexico College. That partnership of automotives, woodcrafting, electronics, electrical is going to be in our own backyard in a building that we're partnering with Rio Rancho Public Schools under the same roof, so kids could be receiving their high school diploma and education while gaining either college courses or vocational training.
Yes, this is going to cost more because the equipment costs more. You can have two wonderful classes, one's a French one and one's a welding one, and welding is going to cost more money because the equipment costs more money. That's something we're going to have to continue to work with the state on, is additional support financially for career technical programs.
We're moving away from that traditional school setting and into kind of the next step, the future.
I'm excited to see what the CTE is going to bring to Rio Rancho Public Schools. I think that we'll see more laborers, more journeymen, more people getting into the trades that we need them in.
You really can't talk about economic development without addressing the workforce. Rio Rancho Public Schools works very closely with the employers in the area, whether it's in the healthcare industry, the electronics industry, the manufacturing industry, or even in the infrastructure area, to make sure that they're training up kids to provide that next generation of workforce that we're going to need.
That's one of the kind of miraculous things about our district is, we have been able to provide quality education, but again, I think a lot of the results are due to very strong leadership, and we just don't see that in other districts.
What I have learned as a board member is that if you don't have a strong senior executive, your district's in trouble. The board cannot make up for the lack of a superintendent. I think superintendents back in the day, I'd heard that their average duration of service is like around 2.5 to 3 years. What a blessing to Rio Rancho to have an outstanding one who has been here for that long of a duration.
In their fourth decade, going forward, 40 years as a school district, and look at the amazing successes. I see Rio Rancho Public Schools continuing to just expand across the board, because this school district is one of the main reasons that people flock to this community. It took a whole community to bring us to where we are today, and that It's going to take a whole community to take us into the next decade.
In the last 30 years, we've had a legacy of greatness for Rio Rancho Public Schools. We've had an amazing superintendent. We've had amazing other district staff, Carl Leppelman, who's retiring. Because of their legacies, they've set us up for success. They've put all the pieces into place. And now as we move ahead, we need to also remember our past and remember the things that they've always been working toward. And that's to have a unified community, to have the best district in the state of New Mexico, and to always be working for our children and for what's in their best interest.
And we know that eventually change is going to occur. And we're seeing that now with some people retiring. This community has values. They've seen evidence of what the schools can do and the types of people that we hire in this community. And so I think to keep those high expectations, one of our district's greatest strengths is hiring people who are passionate about education, passionate about helping kids, regardless of who comes in and who's going to be the next principal at Joe Harris or the next superintendent at Rio Rancho Public Schools. Ensure that the values of those administrators align with our community's values.
Yes, I've had other opportunities to go to other districts and to do other things, and I just felt such a commitment to Rio Rancho and to our school district. I wanted my children to have consistency in their educational experience, and I felt our district provided that. And I thought, this is a place that we're making a difference.
I can't believe it's 30 years. I'm very, very grateful to have been a part of this wonderful journey. Rio Rancho Public Schools is the best district in this state.
Having a strong school district, a quality school district, isn't easy, and you can never stop working hard and thinking about how you need to be better. Because I think the greatest danger in any organization is complacency. As we became more established and the community felt more comfortable about their schools, and they began to kind of think, well, things are going pretty well here, and so maybe I'm not needed as much as I was needed in the past. And I would have to say that's absolutely not true. And I would want them to know we need them every bit as much now as we did in the past.
I don't think much about things I've accomplished, but it kind of talks about a legacy that in my own mind tells me I was a part of that to be successful. And I think it makes me feel that I contributed something to this community that was generational, or it will be generational.
With a great team, you can do anything. And so probably the thing I'm the proudest of is having brought together a group of people that I think were exceptional over the years. What I hope my legacy will be is that we started with just almost nothing and built a very strong school district in which our staff and our community is proud of, and that we made a difference in the lives of thousands of children, and every bit of that hard work was worth it.